what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Nika, just your scraps. Okay, so today is going to be a little bit different. Let me clarify a little bit before I get into this missing person story. So my channel has always been story times or silly things. I've tried like conspiracy theories and other things a couple of times, and as much as I love watching those videos, I don't think making that content is completely for me. That being said, this particular missing persons case has been on my heart for the past several years. I just kind of happened upon it, and ever since then, every week I'm checking the Facebook page, I'm checking news for updates. So I've always been really passionate about this case, and I feel like I've just been kind of waiting around for somebody on YouTube to talk about it, and I just really feel in my heart I should talk about it rather than just wait around. That being said, this type of content is not necessarily what's going to be on my channel all the time. There are YouTubers that completely dedicate their channels to missing persons cases, unsolved mysteries, conspiracy theories, stuff like that. One in particular that I've really enjoyed and honestly kind of inspired this video is Kendall Rae. I will leave a link to her channel in the description. If this is the kind of content you like, you're gonna love her channel. She's not afraid to say what happened. I think just her content's really awesome. So I will link her channel below so you can watch it. She's awesome. She only is able to do like one of these a week, and I'm always like chomping at the bit waiting. So I think if you like this kind of content, you'll really like her channel. That being said, I felt really compelled to this story, so I wanted to share it with you guys today. This is the disappearance of Kyron Horman. Let me start by telling you a little bit about who Kyron Horman is. Kyron Horman was born on September 9th of 2002 to his biological parents, Kyron Horman and Desiree Young. Early on in his childhood, they got a divorce and I think shared custody up until he was 2. At this point, Desiree started suffering with like kidney problems and was really sick and passing out all the time. And so for the sake of Kyron's safety, because he was little, if she passed out and couldn't take care of him, anything could happen. She gave primary custody to the father and the stepmother named Terry Horman. That being said, though, she still saw Kyron all the time. She was still very greatly involved with his life, from what I understand. So, it was a hard situation. She didn't necessarily want to do it, but she cared a lot about the safety of her son as she was dealing with this sickness and the financial troubles that came from it after. From every interview and everything I've read, Kyron Horman seemed like your typical sweet little boy. He loved math and science. He was really shy but loved his friends. No one has anything bad to say about Kyron and just how kind and sweet he was and how cute he was. He was only 7 years old and people had nothing but good things to say about him in every interview I saw. Apparently he was very passionate about school and just seemed genuinely happy. There's not a picture of this little boy not smiling that that I've seen. He just looks like this sweet little boy. So on June 4th, 2010, Skyline Elementary School, which is where Kyron was going to school, he was in 2nd grade, was having their science fair. And I can remember, like, even at my school, the science fair was a big deal. Normally we met at night, but I guess the way their school did it was like they would open early in the morning so the kids could drop off their stuff, their like science fair projects, and then the parents could walk around with them to go and see it. And this is what Terry Horman, his stepmother, did with him. They walked around looking at all the science fair projects. I've heard reports on other websites, but I'm not entirely sure if they're true, that there was also a talent show that was supposed to be happening and he was participating in that day. So there was a lot for him to be excited about. Like, he wanted to be at school that day. So according to Terry Horman, she was the last person to see him that day. She's the last person known to have ever seen Kyron. They parted ways at an exit in the school. He walked towards his 2nd grade class and she left the school going to her car driving away. Later that day, her husband Kane and their daughter Kiara walked to the school bus where Kyron would have gotten off of the school bus to go meet him. They were going to take him out to celebrate his science fair project. And unfortunately, he did not get off of the bus. Now, their first thought was, oh, he probably just like forgot we weren't picking him up today, or maybe he missed the bus. He was excited about the science fair. Like normal kid stuff. I know on several occasions, like I would forget to get on the bus, or like I would get on the bus and I wasn't supposed to. that kind of a thing. So it's really easy for like a young kid to mess up and just like not get on the bus. So the father asked the bus driver to call the school, and he got a hold of the school secretary, who said that Kyron had been absent for the entire day. This is where I get really frustrated with this story because, you know, I'm not calling out the school. You know, I don't know their policies. It just kind of makes me frustrated because when I was a kid, and like, let's say I was sick from school, and if my dad forgot to call the school and let them know, they would call within an hour of me not being there. It was never like calling at the end of the day. Like maybe when I was in high school they would wait, but you know, elementary school, that's like young. You shouldn't be missing from school. Personally, I don't know the policies of Multnomah County. I don't know their school policies. I don't know. So I'm not blaming them. I just, you know, like having experienced my school doing it, I find it really frustrating that nobody was informed that Kyron was missing until later in the day. So at that point, a 911 call was issued, and an automatic like message to all the parents in the school district went out informing them that a student was missing. And Kyron's biological mom, Desiree, was informed that he was missing as well by the school. And after that, an entire search of the school went on. They checked every nook and cranny, every crawl space, everywhere they could. Even a 911 call was made later that night, trying to inform them of like a tunnel where the kids would hang out. They checked there, Kyron wasn't there. They checked the woods around the school, and Kyron was not found. And so they moved on into the next day. And you know, the search is still going on to this day. Kyron's mom, you know, she's still constantly searching the woods
for Kyron. But do you dread what you may find?
Absolutely, yeah. When I go out in the morning, I hope we find something, and then I don't.
The wooded area where they think that remains or clues might be, but they just still haven't found anything. You know, I'm not doing this to be opinionated about who I think did it. Please know that. My goal with this is I want this little boy found, or I want justice for this little boy. But I'm going to be talking to you about everything that points to Terry Horman first. So according to Desiree, I watched an interview where she was, you know, speaking about Terry, and she called Terry and Kane to let them know she would be coming into town so she could help search for Kyron. And Terry's response was just reportedly really weird. She was just like, oh, you are, like really kind of odd about it.
I had told her I'm coming up there, and she said, you are? And she seemed surprised at that, which I thought was strange. I said, of course I am.
You know, I've never lost a child. I've never lost a stepchild. So I can't judge the immediate reaction of something like that happening, you know, in the event that she's not guilty. But that being said, that is kind of a weird response. Well, in the weeks after Kyron went missing, some weird stuff kind of started happening with Terry. At first, she seemed really involved. She was posting on Facebook, like handing out all these flyers. But then a couple days later, she would post things like heading to the gym, had to stay out late last night. Stuff that really just didn't seem to coincide with your stepson being missing. So another man joined the search who had previously been friends with Kane, and they kind of rekindled through Kyron's disappearance, even went on record to say, like, I don't think Terry did it at one point. But then it was discovered that they had been having a texting relationship only like 20-something days after Kyron had been missing. And I mean, like a texting like relationship, like texting naughty things back and forth. He supposedly admitted to the texting, but, you know, like adamantly says there was no physical relationship. And when asked about this on the Dr. Phil interview, Terry said, well, my husband Kane was doing the same thing to me, so I wanted to get him back.
This was in retaliation for something that he was doing that I found out about while this is happening. And this particular person was actually his friend and sent to the house. So this was a setup.
And, you know, I find that kind of frustrating, like even if that's just simply the truth. When a child is missing, that is not time to be messing with a spouse, especially if the spouse is the biological father of the child. That is not the time to get revenge. Like, that's just not the time and place for that at all. Like, there really isn't a time and place for something like that, but that's really not the time or place when a child is missing, because one, like, this dad's already hurting because his son is gone, and two, that's really incriminating on you. And like, if you're a suspect, everything about you becomes public. You are no longer safe from the media. You are no longer a private person. Everything gets out there. And that was even a warning made by Kyron's stepfather to them. He let them know, like, you're gonna be under the limelight for a while now. And Terry had kind of a weird reaction to that. She seemed very like offended by the idea that she would be questioned. Like, why would I be questioned? I don't want to be questioned, kind of an attitude. And that was a big like factor in them being suspicious. But this next thing, I think this is the real reason everyone kind of suspects her. But later in that month, the end of June, Kyron Horman was informed that Terry Horman had gone to their landscaper and questioned him about a murder for hire plot. She wanted the landscaper to kill Kyron, offering him a large sum of money. So obviously Kyron was terrified for his life. He was terrified for his daughter's life. So he left the house, got temporary sole custody of their daughter, and like that's really when stuff got weird. There was a report that at their gym, where they were both members, Terry went in and started inquiring, like, has he been working out? Has he been bringing our daughter here? And the owner of the gym felt scared enough to call the police because like it just seemed like she was going to try to kidnap the little girl. So let's talk about what Terry says happened that day versus what people think happened. So what Terry says happened after she left the school, she watched Kyron walk away, go towards his classroom. According to her, she left, she went to the grocery store, she went to the gym, and then she drove her little girl around, her little baby girl, to soothe kind of an earache in the car. And sometimes parents will do that. If the kid is crying, they'll put them in the car, drive them around until they fall asleep. And she says that she went home. She was home to post the picture of Kyron on Facebook by 1 o'clock. And then, she was with her husband to go meet Kyron at the bus stop. So, between like 1 and 3 are accounted for. But that time where she was driving supposedly her daughter around, she drove really far out into the forest, which was a lot of people kind of speculate that maybe she did something and she hid it. And she drove so far out that they could no longer like track her cell phone signal, like where she had gone. So that was a little bit suspicious. Like, why would you drive your child that far? But then again, like, I think it's fairly normal to take a baby on a drive to soothe it. Babies fall asleep in cars. There's something nice about riding in the car. There's even like cribs designed to mimic a car ride to help a baby fall asleep. So, I think this could be incriminating, but I also think it could be like, I don't know. I don't know. I definitely think that the murder for hire plot is incredibly incriminating, and like the police informing Kyron of that makes me like really curious why she was never fully a suspect. I know that they sent the landscaper, to go talk to her with a wire, and they couldn't get any information, so maybe they just couldn't prove it, but like still, like for me, that would be enough to at least label her a suspect. So reportedly she was quiet about everything, not really totally cooperative with the police, and even failed 2 lie detector tests, which she addressed on the episode where she talked with Dr. Phil, saying that she just couldn't hear very well and it took time to process the questions, which according to Dr. Phil's polygraph examiner that he always uses is very possible that could affect a polygraph test. But that being said, she failed 2 of them and completely walked out of a 3rd one. So there's just a lot of iffy stuff with her. Now, apparently she was, like, once she started getting suspected by the family, she got an attorney and just kept quiet for a while, and then ended up doing an interview in a magazine where she talked about just, like, how hard this was on her, and Desiree didn't feel like there was enough talk about Kyron. And then finally she ended up on the Dr. Phil show kind of giving her side of the story. She wanted to leave Kyron, and she wanted to get revenge on him, and she wanted to hurt him. So either she took Kyron, sent him somewhere else, she took Kyron and ended his life and hid it, who knows what. So that's what a lot of people think happened with this case. They think that she intentionally either hurt Kyron or got rid of him to hurt the father. Now, here's what she had to say on Dr. Phil. Now, according to her, there was an incident that wasn't really investigated or talked about in media. And supposedly there's even like footage of this happening. This is just what I heard on this interview, but she said that there was a white pickup truck with a very odd man parked at a 7-Eleven near Kyron's elementary school, and this guy was just being really weird, pacing around the parking lot, and finally an employee came out to talk to him, and he asked where the nearest school was, and they told him that it was Skyline Elementary School, and that nobody ever really looked into that. Like, maybe it was a creepy guy looking to find a kid to take, who knows. Like, I would love to say that it's not possible that somebody broke into the school and took this little boy, but like, crazy stuff has happened. Like, obviously shooters have gotten into elementary schools in the past couple of years. We had a code red once when I was in elementary school where a guy with a weapon got onto our campus and we had to like hide in the classroom, and it was really, really scary. I feel like that's also something that's possible, but not as likely, if that makes sense. And since then, Terry Horman has been kind of involved with some other really scary stuff. There was rumored another murder for hire plot with a previous significant other years and years and years ago. There was also a couple of arrests that happened within the past couple years, some for domestic violence, one for stealing a gun from her roommate, and one for stealing a car. So there is, a violent criminal nature to this woman. Does that necessarily mean she did this? I don't know, but I think it's possible. And I also think other things are possible too. That's why it's so important that if you have any information, you put that information out there. You either call the police, you call the tip hotline, you message the Facebook page. It's really important that people get information out there. If you've seen this boy or if you saw this boy the day that it happened, it's really important to get this information out there. When he was last seen, Kyron Horman had kind of a blondish brown hair color. He wore glasses, he had blue eyes. Several of his front teeth were missing, but this was obviously years ago. Now he would be about 14. I'm gonna put an age progressed photo right here so you could see what he could possibly look like now. I just hope and pray with everything that this sweet little boy is found and is alive and can go home to his mom, or at the very least justice can be done for him. Okay, so there's a lot of information out there on Terry Horman. There's a lot of information out there on what's going on with the search efforts right now, on different theories that people have, but I can only cover so much in this video. If you have any information, if you've seen this little boy, if you've seen somebody that looks like him possibly grown up, if you have any idea what Terry Horman might have been doing that day, or anybody else for that matter might have been doing that day that was suspicious, please call this in. I'm going to leave a couple of different places you can go with your tips. One will be an email, one will be a Facebook page, a couple will be numbers. But it's super important that if you know anything at all, you saw anything the day of his disappearance, if you've seen anybody that looks possibly like they could be him now grown up, if you know maybe what Terry was doing that day, or if there's somebody else that you saw doing something weird that day in Portland, Oregon, Multnomah County, it's so important that you call into a tip line, because anything that could possibly lead this family towards having their son is a huge help, I think. Just a super sweet and cute little boy, and it just breaks my heart that he doesn't get to be home with his family now, enjoying high school and learning how to drive and going to his prom. It just breaks my heart, and I hope that maybe through this video either we can make that possible for him or we can get him justice. I've tried very hard to be objective throughout this video. I don't know what happened to him or who did what, and I hope that everyone involved is being honest. But if not, I just, I hope that they change their hearts and can be honest. All right, so again, I will leave tip numbers that you can call, as well as an email that you can reach out to, and a Facebook page. All of them are great sources if you have tips, if you saw anything that day. I'm going to link Kendall Ray's channel down below. If you like this kind of content, you'll really like her channel, and she also has the opportunity to call in tips if you know anything. She's got a lot of really interesting stories, so I think it's really awesome that she's getting those out there. And also, one more time, if you see anything, or if you see a little boy that looks like this little boy, or if you saw anything that day, please call it into the tip hotline. I think anything would help them at this point. I honestly can't imagine losing a child, and Kyron's mom is such an inspiration. She's still looking for her little boy even after 7 years. A lot of people would probably give up, but it's really amazing to see her continuing to look, and I want this search to end with Kyron being home with his mom, so I really hope we can make that happen. But if not, at the very least, I want to get justice for this sweet little boy. I don't fully know what happened. I hope that everyone involved will be completely honest now if they haven't been before. All right, you guys, that's all I have for today. I hope you liked this video, and please do not forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate everyone who's watched my channel so far. All right, you guys, have a great day.